Editing Hannah, just popping in to formally introduce the reading vlog, the TBR, because when I was looking at the footage it has cut off the intro and some of the books I was talking about. It has cut off when I was talking about Marion Lane and the Midnight Murder and the Prison Healer. So Marion Lane and the Midnight Murder I actually read in June and just didn't get a chance to wrap it up in June's wrap up because I'd already filmed it the wrap up before I'd finished, before the month of June actually ended. The same with the Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. The Marion Lane and the Midnight Murder by T.A. Wilberg follows Marion, who is a 23-year-old apprentice learning how to be a spy in this underground agency when I think she's in her first year of the apprenticeship, when her mentor is accused of murdering one of the other apprentices, and Marion and her friends know that this isn't the case, so they go on a mission to prove the mentor's innocence and find out who and why the real killer. It was fun, it was whimsical, I gave it 4 stars, and do you want to find out what happens next? And then I'm looking over here because I've put them away, and then the next one it cut off was the Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. That got 5 stars and I absolutely adored it. I can't find a fault with that one, and it may be on my best books of 2021 list. So I'll pop this update, this little intro, into the vlog, into the video I should say, and then we'll hand on to the proper video where I'm talking about A Chain of Gold. So that's that. Right, maybe a bit of a different angle because the batteries needed charge, but I didn't really understand Grace's character very much in the Chain of Gold book, but now I do. And how pretty is this cover? This is the Fairy Loot edition, and I'm just trying to plug this battery in because it's going to flash at me in a minute. This was the first official book for Sequelathon, which, if I haven't mentioned already, was like my most successful reading month ever. I think I read like 21 books. So this one is obviously dealing with the fallout of Chain of Gold, which was incredible on its own, and I think this series can only get better, especially with how I think Chain of Thorns is going to end. I think it's going to make me cry. Right, then we finally finished Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, which almost rhymes in my accent, but this one is obviously the conclusion to the Throne of Glass series. 5 stars. It gave me that emotional reaction, especially with Manon and Abraxas. It gave me that emotional connection that made me cry, and as soon as any book gives me that sort of emotion, it automatically gets a 10 on enjoyment and writing in Corpile, just because obviously it's getting a reaction out of me. So I got 5 stars. With that one, what I particularly liked about it is that it deals with the fallout of what Aelin / Selena goes through in Empire of Storms, and we see everything, and all of the characters have their own trauma to deal with, and that book takes it and deals with it. Then we read the Wicked series, which is Son of a Witch, A Line Among Men and Out of Oz by Gregory Maguire. These are the sequels to Wicked, and if you didn't know, Wicked is a take on the origin story of the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. These got 4 stars, all 3 of them. Son of a Witch is a direct sequel from Wicked, following Leah, one of the characters introduced in that book. And Gregory Maguire's unique writing style of it being very dreamlike definitely helps in that particular story, because for the first half of it, I would say, a good majority of the first part, Lear is actually unconscious, and we see what happened to him through his dreams or memories. And a character is introduced at the end of Son of a Witch who I really adore and want to read more from. But then in Lion Among Men, we follow the Cowardly Lion, Burr, and through him we see the political side of Oz. We see what's happening, what's changed, why things are going the way they are, and then in Out of Oz everything comes to a head and we are following everyone again, obviously not Elphaba but everybody else. And we actually pick up with Rain, who is brilliant. I love her. She's a child, but she isn't an average child, and that's all you're getting for spoilers. Maguire's writing is very dreamlike. It is a little bit hard to get to at times because you're not sure if you're reading a dream sequence or if it's actually happening, but for certain parts of this book, which are very dreamlike anyway, especially in there are parts of it in Son of a Witch where it works brilliantly, and A Lion Among Men where the confusion just adds to the general, well, what's happening in Oz vibe that you get. And Out of Oz is a solid conclusion in my opinion. Then we read, I don't have it here, I think I put it on a different stack. Yes, I have a vlog up. I have a haul uploading as well. Then we read Goddess of Legend by Pacey Cast. This one I can give you a more in-depth summary because the Goddess Summoning series are a selection of companion novels. The only ones I would say you have to read in order are Goddess of Spring and Goddess of Light. The events of Goddess of Spring affect the events of Goddess of Light, and it may be a bit of a minor spoiler for Goddess of Spring if you read it before Goddess of Light. No, if you read Goddess of Light before Goddess of Spring, you may have spoilers for Goddess of Spring. But Goddess of Legend follows Isabel, and she is in a car wreck and drives in and ends up in a lake caught between life and death. She makes a deal with the water goddess, who sends her back to Camelot to obviously seduce Lancelot away from Guinevere. I didn't really feel much of a connection to this one, but it was still fun. I mean, we have to wait half the book for a kiss, and the whole thing just seems a little bit, there's no connection. I don't buy Isabel and Arthur because obviously Isabel is supposed to be there to seduce Lancelot away from Guinevere, but she actually falls for the king himself. But I don't buy it, and there's just something that I didn't gel with in this particular book. I could still be a little bit annoyed at how, because it felt like she was writing that one at the same time as she was writing House of Night, the style, and it just didn't click. Then I read Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. I finally finished this trilogy, and it was okay. 4 stars. I liked it. There were elements that I love the riddle elements in this one, because if you don't know, Fae are tricksters. They deal with riddles and things like that, but I don't really understand the hype with this one. I might reread it and see if I enjoy it still, but I think it might be one that doesn't survive the next purge of my shelves, but you never know. This is a solid enough conclusion to a fun junk foodie type trilogy. You know you shouldn't read it, but you read it anyway, and it's fun while you read it, but it's nothing special. I think I may have rated that one generously on Corpow. Then we have Blood and Honey by Shelby Muharin. This one I absolutely adored. I love the magic system in this, how it works on balance, and Reed is dealing with the fallout from Serpent and Dove, and Lou is going through some stuff as well, because obviously she went through it in Serpent and Dove, and it has left its mark on her. There was something I wanted to mention, but I can't remember. Oh yes, there was a character in here who I did find was a little bit forgettable. I think he was just in there for plot purposes. It didn't really have a connection to him, but something happened to him that did give me that emotional reaction because I saw how the other characters reacted to it. Hang on, the hair in my mouth. So I was able to get that emotional connection through the other characters reacting to this event as opposed to first-hand reaction. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say there, but it's got 5 stars. And my stack of books to put away keeps getting bigger on my bed. Then I read The Missing of Claire de Lune and The Memory of Babel, books 2 and 3 of the Mirror Visitor series. These both got 5 stars. An interesting tidbit, I only started reading these because I lent my mum The Mirror Visitor, which is book 1, to read because she wanted something to read. She flew through that, so I read these 2. My mum's literally just finished Missing of Claire de Lune, so as soon as this video's filmed, I'll give her Memory of Babel to read. But if you didn't know, the Missing of the Mirror Visitor series, A Winter's Promise is the first book, sorry. They are by Christelle Debo. They are translated from French, and they follow the story of Ophelia, who lives on Anima, which is a floating ark in the sky, and she is gifted by her family spirit Artemis in being able to read the history of objects, and travel through mirrors. Now this particular skill is rare. The Mirror Visitor is rare, but she is a particularly gifted reader, which grabs the attention of Thorn, who lives on a different ark. I think it's called the Pole, which is a little bit like the North Pole. It's very wintry, and he is very cold and taciturn and a little bit broody, and he wants to marry her for reasons that become clear in that. But what I like about Ophelia is she is quiet and she sees things differently. She's a misunderstood genius and eccentric. What is it? Oh, it doesn't say on this one. Awkward, misfit, and misunderstood genius. But I didn't really like The Memory of Babel so much because Ophelia is separated from the gang, but we do sort of get into the main overarching plot in The Memory of Babel. They both got 5 stars, and I want the sequel. I need to know what happens, which is always the mark of a good book. Then I have Vulture by Bex Hogan. This is the 3rd and final part of the Isles of Storm and Sorrow trilogy, which consists of Viper and Venom. In Viper, Marianne wants to become the Viper, who is like the king's justice. He's sort of like a pirate who's on the king's payroll, but not at the same time. He's a bit of an outlaw, a bit like Robin Hood on sea, but a lot darker. Marianne's father doesn't want her to be the Viper, even though she's the best trained for it, so he arranges for her to be married to the prince's son, who isn't interested either. He'll do his duty by her because it is a political alliance, but he's actually gay and interested in his servant, I believe. So they just sort of go on with it. I believe on the wedding night the prince is poisoned and Marianne is blamed, so she goes on this whole journey of discovering herself. And in Venom, which is the 2nd book, there are major trigger warnings for torture and amputation, so just be wary of that. It is graphic. But Vulture is obviously the sequel to all of that, the conclusion where Marianne is coming to terms with what's happened to her and defeating the big bad, who isn't necessarily who you may think. So that was fun. I do want to read more from Bex, but how shiny this cover is. That got 4 stars. Lots of 5 and 4 stars this month, and nothing for the bin. Then we read Liberté, which is here. I have a pile of the books I've read and need to talk about. This is a Les Mis-esque book. The sequel, Enchante, is set just before the French Revolution. Liberté is set just after, I believe. In the States, these are published under different names. I think they are published under everything, something to do with Bright and something to do with Burn. I'm not sure, but I read them under Enchante and Liberté. This got 4 stars. It was a satisfying conclusion. I do enjoy the magic system in this one. Again, it's all on balance. You have your everyday magic, your household magic, which involves changing things from one thing to another. Then you have your dark magic as well, your blood magic, which is how our main character Camille is able to get away with half the stuff she does in Enchante. Liberté picks up just at the start, or the French Revolution is in progress, and she uses her magic to try and better the revolution, to give the voice to the people. I didn't really get the emotional connection, and the reveal seemed to come out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming in a bad way. But what really intrigued me about this one was finding out what was going on, who the big bad guy was, and I did like how Camille stayed true to where she came from, because after the events of Enchante she is in a better position than where she started, and she stayed true to that. She used her new position to better those beneath her. The first chapter opens up on her saving a flower girl from a man's unwanted attentions. But I was a little bit confused about what was going on at the start, because it was a different perspective. Then I finished out the Merciless Crow duology with The Faithless Hawk by Margaret Owen. The world in this is beautiful. Not beautiful, but it is intriguing. It is based on caste system, which I really enjoyed. Bird caste as well, where you have your phoenixes as the ruling class and then your crows as the lower class, and we follow Fee, who is a crow leader. It got up 4 stars because I did enjoy it. I didn't quite get the emotional connection, but I did really enjoy it. And I am intrigued to see where Margaret Owen goes next, because I do think she has a new book out about Princess and a Maid, but I'm glad I read that one. I finished that duology. Then we have Goddess of... Did I talk about Goddess of Sea yet? Right, I read Goddess of Sea and Goddess of Light, both by Basic Cast, and these are in the Goddess Something series within. Goddess of Sea is a kind of retelling of The Little Mermaid. I gave this one 4 stars. We actually had a villain in this one, which was interesting. We follow Cece, who crash lands into the Atlantic Ocean, I think, and she finds herself in a legendary time and place ruled by magic, overlooked by the goddess Gaia, and Gaia turns her into a mermaid, inhabiting the body of her daughter Undine. Undine wants to get away from the sea, and Cece just happens to take that place because she's in the in-between of life and death. A dashing knight comes to her rescue, but she wants the merman who's maybe stealing her heart. The villain in this one is scary, he's dark, he's controlling, and it works perfectly for what this book is. There is a attempted rape scene right at the start, so just be wary of that. But then we have a new favourite, I think, and that is Goddess of Light by Pete. I just told you what it was and who it was by. But this one follows Pamela, who is a little bit jaded towards men. She's tired of dating egomaniacs, and she's actually divorced. She's coming from a bit of a toxic marriage that has closed her off to that. But twins Artemis and Apollo have been sent to Vegas, and through events, their first assignment is to make Pamela's wish come true. Pamela wants romance, she wants a godlike man. So we know what's going to happen. But I think why I like this one and Goddess of Spring is that the love interests they end up together, whereas in the other ones it's sort of reincarnation of them, and it's sweet, but I like this one a bit better. Even if Apollo does go slightly overkill on killing a snake. But when you understand that Apollo's big bad in the original myth is a big giant snake called Python, it kind of makes sense that he doesn't like snakes. But then I read and dropped Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the sequel to the Daevabad trilogy, which is City of Brass and Kingdom of Copper, and I absolutely adored it. I love where the characters ended up and how they were able to reconcile duty with not desire, but likes and interests. Ali, I still don't really like Ali and Nari together. There's just something about it that doesn't work, but Dara goes on his own journey, and I absolutely adore this one. I can't really tell you anything about it because it is a conclusion, but basically we follow Nari in the city of Cairo, who has a gift for healing magic. She uses it as a bit of a con. Dara comes and finds her, takes her to Daevabad, where Nari learns the secrets of where she came from, her magic, and why she has it, and expands on that. So highly recommend this one. It is a bit of a chunky book, but I read it fairly quickly. Then we have the last two books that I read this month. We have Whispers Underground by Ben Aronovich. Again, this is a little bit like the Goddess Summoning. They're nothing special, but they are fun. This is a murder mystery set with a bit of paranormal magic, following Peter Grant. In this one, an unknown person has been found stabbed to death on the track of Baker Street Tube. It's found to be just an average investigation until you find out that person unknown is the son of a US senator, and he may be involved in something that's not exactly kosher. Now, these are fun. In my opinion, the first two books, Rivers of London and Moon over Soho, you can tell that the book is written by a man. His women characters are a little bit flat and dimensional and have that very heavy male gaze, but in this one I found it didn't bother me too much. I mean, it probably is still there, but it wasn't as blatant. And while these are enjoyable, I can't binge read them, so I'll still have quite a bit to go of this series, and I think I'm actually missing some. So I got 4 stars, which is like an average read for me. Then I read The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman. This is actually volume 2, The Secret Commonwealth, and I absolutely devoured this. It did only get 4 stars because there were some things that were confusing, and I did think it went on a little bit too long. But in this one, we're back following Lyra and Pan. They aren't getting on at all, and something happens that means that Lyra and Pan are separated and trying to solve the same. At the beginning of the book, there is a murder. Pan witnesses it, and obviously Lyra feels obligated to try and help out, because they can separate at this point after the events of the original trilogy. And I enjoyed it enough. I just felt it went on a bit too long, and there was I just wanted to shake them at times and just get on with it. There is an interesting discussion to be said about this one, because obviously Pan and Lyra are the same soul, and with them not getting on, what does that say about their mental state, about blah blah. But yeah, 4 stars, and I need the 3rd book now because it ends on such a cliffhanger. Why do books always land on cliffhangers when it's the 2nd book in a series? But yeah, that's all the books I read in July, give or take. I'm sure I've forgotten some because my camera was being a bit of a pain, but we'll just deal with it. I now have to put them back, and the books from the haul. So let me know what you've read in the comments below, if you have read anything that I've read, what you think of it, if you agree or disagree. Give this video a like, and subscribe if you want to see this, talk about these, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!